Good morning, friends. This is your old girl, Melanie Rose. I'm here to share your daily aspects. Today is Friday, January 21st, 2022. And the sun is in Aquarius, second full day in Aquarius. Yay! The sign of Aquarius brings up key words for me like inspired, big picture, collective improvement. Aquarius wants to be the rising tide that lifts all boats. It's not really just ever about themselves. They're not particularly sentimental people. They're not particularly interested in self-gratification so much as they are as the betterment of the whole society, the whole of humanity. So that's the vibe of Sun Aquarius when when we're under that influence. Air feeds fire, though. So while Aquarius has this attitude or this reputation for being somewhat aloof and remaining above the fray, given an inspiration to fight, especially for a just, progressive cause, the Aquarius, the Aquarius sun will give us the power we want to defend our position with spirit. This is important at this time because we just came out of Capricorn, so we've been in this mode of working very hard and trying to be productive in some way, in producing something, in building something, and under this influence, we're still under the influence of Saturn. Aquarius and Capricorn are both ruled by Saturn, so it's still all about those structures that you've built, those networks that you rely on for your own safety and growth, and your responsibility to maintain them. But in this air sign, if a spark is lit, there might be a fire to defend what you have built. And this is an appropriate sign to be doing that under because it's very intellectual. It's very smart. I would think, Goddess Athena rather than the god Ares, because Goddess Athena was about war with intellect, war with strategy, not just barging in and cutting people up, but I guess having a reason to barge in. Anyway, that's Sun in Aquarius. The moon today is in Virgo. Virgo is an earth sign, and it is ruled by Mercury, which is really more of an air element, but so think earth and air when you think Virgo. In our hearts and homes right now, we are going to be really communicating, but what's important to us in the transfer of information is how can we help? How can we improve matters? How can we lift up the situation in the heart and the home? So, we see some overlap here. There's this air sign, and then there's this airy sort of earth sign. And this is an earthy sort of air sign because it's ruled by Saturn. So it's all about, having the good idea and the initiative and the desire to bring healing and help and improvement. And the waning gibbous phase of this moon, has had us for the last few days and sort of enjoying the fruition of whatever goals and intentions we set for the full moon. And, as the celebration winds down, right now we come into a sort of pre-planning mode, and it's not thinking about what's coming next quite yet, but what it's thinking about is it's reflecting on where we've been over the last month and what we've collected to us and what parts of the collection can now be dispersed or let go of. And that could be stuff, we live in a really product-rich society, so we often bring home a lot of stuff, even if we didn't intend to bring home stuff. Stuff just sort of falls into our laps, and we've got to bring some stuff in and push some other stuff out so that we're always creating space for new things to come in. And where was I with that? Oh yes, waning crescent moon, waning gibbous moon. So now we're just gonna start to plan we start to think about, what isn't working for us anymore? What do we no longer need? What can we plan to get rid of? Yeah, think about it. Make a list. And okay, so well, let's say a small C celebrate, because the celebration is winding down, and begin to plan what you can let go. Okay, let's take a quick look at the legend, so we have an idea of what kind of energies we're working with today, and then we'll get into some interpretation. The sun is at the top of the list all the time, no matter what. Sun is the outer life. So that is your work world, your civic world, your social world, who you are in those spaces around the people you work with, the people, in your community, and the people in your social life. And also think of it as the person that people first get to know when they meet you. Because you'd never show somebody like your whole inner life from the first. Well, maybe some people would. I wouldn't. And then the inner life is more about your relationship with yourself, those things you think, know, intuit, feel, and how you come to engage also in your home life or your domestic sphere. Who's there with you, and where is it, and what is the dynamic there? It's all that stuff wrapped together. That's more like your personal life and your inside life. Uranus is here. Uranus always comes around and asks us to do things a little bit differently, and so we make changes. Venus is our planet for love and money, or how do you relate to those people and things that you like, love, and can't get enough of? Neptune is our connection to humanity, asks how do you value your connection to humanity right now? I would say right now, because my relationship with humanity sort of waxes and wanes. I'm sure I'm not the only one. And Mercury is on the page. This is your personal planet for the intellect. So the day-to-day thoughts, plans, and communications that you do, as well as the running around that you do and all that equipment stuff that you use to transfer information and yourself. As for aspect energies, we have 3 on the board today. We have a couple of trines. This is a very positive vibration here to start our day. And trines are, they're the most positive aspect. So the words like harmony come up, synchronicity, ideal comes up a lot for me. Like things might feel like they're working in an ideal way during this time. And we'll come back and discuss that in a minute. Opposition is also here. Opposition represents the potential for some conflict and also the opportunity to find a balance, because we don't always want to get into a conflict, unless you're like a triple Aries or something. And then conjunct. Conjunct amplifies the effects of both of the planets involved. So they're sort of overlapping. From our perspective, they're overlapping in the sky. They tend to brighten one another's effects. Signs of note on the page today are Aquarius, Virgo, and Scorpio. All right, so let's get into these aspects. You see that I have divided the page into 2 columns, one for each of our luminaries. So the moon is the luminary that sheds light on our inner life, our emotions, our personal life, and like our domestic space. And these aspects actually happen very quickly, and they sort of occur to us as moods, emotions, and intuitions. So I keep them on this side of the page. On this side of the page is the sun aspect, which is the solar aspects, which represent the outer life. And I do the rest of the planets and their aspects over here because they have more to do with what goes on in our outer life, how we behave in our outer life, and they take longer than the moon aspects. We start with the moon today, Central Standard Time, friends. Moon trine Uranus at 4:28 a.m. So moon in aspect with Uranus brings about some excitement, some desire to do things differently or change things up. And since we're talking about the moon, that's your heart, like having a change of heart, having a desire to have a change of heart, or having a desire to have make some changes around your home space as well, or in your domestic environment. So uh, that always comes from me with a request that you talk to the people who also live in your home space if they do. If you're going to make changes, it's best to collaborate. And it's a good collaborative sign. With Trine energy, Trine is also very positive. So it's like the changes that you want to make, it might feel pretty exciting. You might have some flashes of insight and be able to make changes very quickly. And then the moon in a trine aspect with Venus. Now, Venus is retrograde, so we've had a little bit of standoffishness in our character toward love and labor lately. But the moon is in a trine position here, so we tend to just feel very open and loving at this time and very receptive and, in a positive way, like everybody's feeling that way. And so we can kind of get together with the ones that we love or, really dig into that work that we love. And it's bound to bring up some harmonious moments and some synchronicities and possibly ideal conditions. If only for the moment, right? That's a 5:19 a.m. And I'm describing these both to you right now because, when I was reflecting on these, a lot of the same points came up for me. So it feels like this is all kind of one thing. And you see that they happen 45 minutes apart, but they're each 2 hours. So 2 hours, 4 hours, no, 3 hours and 15 minutes there of this energy, this nice trine, harmonious, not cooperative, but also just synchronistic, ideal functioning energy. So the points that came up for me when I was reflecting is that there may be an important and necessary change in your personal life, and at this time it's possible it could be illuminated. Uh, this is pretty early in the morning, so maybe you'll be having those last dreams of the night, and maybe you'll gain some sort of an illumination of a change that's important for your growth. And when that comes up, if it's illuminated for you, it's going to call for some honest self-evaluation. Why do you desire the thing that you want? Why would what would be your reasons for not making the change, and what would be your reasons? Are they the right reasons for making the change? And understand that you're not alone. Okay, Venus is in retrograde, and so we can feel a little. Mercury's in retrograde too, so it can feel a little bit isolating when we're feeling a little bit distant, other people are feeling a little bit distant, and just going within themselves a little bit. But understand that you're still not alone, and it's the people that you value that inspire you to grow and to become more like yourself, which is, like a fantastic, kind, bright, good-hearted human being, no matter who you are. Okay. And then at 11:43, the moon goes into opposition with Neptune. So this is pretty late at night. And again, it might be dream time. I'm sometimes in bed, often in bed by this time. So it could be a dream time thing or something that occurs to you right before you fall asleep. Sometimes I have these brilliant ideas just right as I'm falling asleep. So an unexpected insight or revelation, might occur, like I was saying before, like the thoughts that just come out of the air and into our head. Um, and having that insight might be like an aha moment for you, so that you gain a certain satisfaction from that broader knowing that you've happened upon, right? You got a bigger picture and you got some broader knowing. And let me fix this up real quick. So that might happen this evening. Keep your ears open, but most of the time, with insight is something you cannot go searching for. So I would say around this time, if you're interested in trying to receive insight, you've got to try to get as close to the not thinking about it and not striving toward it as possible. Okay, you've got to be in some sort of a meditative state, or possibly like just as you're going to sleep, but keep a notebook nearby so that whatever you realize that you won't forget it while you're sleeping. But the potential for conflict does come up here with opposition. So whatever you have brought into your skull at that time, um, I think that probably you will you'll find satisfaction from knowing it, but Mercury is in retrograde. Let's be careful about how we communicate our brand new, fantastic, outlandish ideas in typical Aquarius sun fashion. And I'm not saying don't communicate them, please get them out there. But, let's refrain from being being a know-it-all or being too high-minded or just picking fights with people and treating them like they're stupid, because I think that's the potential here. And so on the sun side of the page, in the ongoing column, we have Venus retrograde. And, we've been talking about Venus retrograde, and I've talked a lot about finding the balance between, the love and labor that you're giving and the value you're receiving for it. I'm not here to say that every loving interaction should be transactional, but interactions are by nature reciprocal, right? It's an interaction. So, you have to make sure that you are getting some value for what you're putting in there, or it's sort of not, it becomes not worth it for you. And that's what we've been discussing. So a couple of keys while I was reflecting on this today to finding balance are: one, practicing moderation. Okay. So that's, in our own spaces, in our own lives, in our own hearts. You know, you can let the dishes go for only so long before you have to clean them up. But if you practice moderation and you work at them every day, then the dishes remain done. And that's just a example that I'm giving. There are all kinds of ways that we let things pile up, or we put things off, or we, don't take care of ourselves. Like when I take care of a chore, I think this is present Melanie taking care of future Melanie. And then future Melanie will notice that I took care of that, and she'll say, "Oh, thanks, past Melanie, for taking care of me." So practice some moderation. Do your chores every day. Don't overindulge in substances, or I don't know what else you overindulge in, like possibly social media comes to mind. And also, give attentive effort to, yourself, right? Give attentive effort to yourself. Take care of those things that you're going to need to take care of before they pile up. And also give attentive effort to those partnerships and commitments that you are reaffirming. Okay, so if you know for a fact that you're reaffirming them, give them attentive effort. But also those partnerships and those commitments and those things that you're thinking about passing on after this period or at some point, you still have a partnership, you still have a commitment or a relationship. And that's with your work, with your boss, with your spouse, or your partner, or your sister, your brother, all of those partnerships, okay? If you know you're going to have to cut and run at some point, that's fine, but you're still in those relationships now, so give them your attentive effort, okay? And also, let's do this with some optimism, with some joy. This is about our lives, and it's about all the blessings and manna that we receive in forms of wealth, and in forms of good health, and in terms of love and admiration and money. So it pays to be optimistic about money, and it pays to be optimistic about your lovability. So that's what I'm going to say about that. And then on the 3rd, Mercury in retrograde. Mercury will go direct on February 3rd, a few days after Venus retrograde. And that's going to give us a whole bunch of forward momentum. We'll get to talk about that soon. At this time, Mercury retrograde, part of what it's been saying to me is that that I need to communicate with myself more. I need to write in my journal more, and I need to personally for me, because I think in a really vague way, but I'm actually really articulate when I say things out loud. Sometimes I have to express something in words before even I really understand it. Remain dedicated to learning and self-improvement at this time. Just because the devices aren't working the way they should, or the thoughts aren't coming as quickly as they should, or we're finding that we're making mistakes about things, or we've embarrassed ourselves by saying the wrong thing to the wrong person or something. Those are all things that can come up with Mercury retrograde, but they shouldn't stop you from taking care of yourself. And self-improvement is like the name of the game today, because you've got Sun and Virgo, Sun in Aquarius and Virgo, Moon in Virgo. Sorry, guys. And that's all about improvement. Virgo wants to make things better. Aquarius wants to improve things for all people. So, this is a great time to remember whatever it is that you are interested in getting into, or that you are into, remain dedicated to your learning and your own self-improvement. We all have many, many miles to go before this is all over. So, don't just sit there. Also, we can still reach our goals, which is, I think, what I just said. In spite of all the things that might get in our way during Mercury retrograde, including and most obviously and most often probably ourselves, we can still reach our goals. So maintain that optimistic attitude, all right? And remain dedicated to what you're doing. Pay attention to what you're doing. All right. This Sunday, Sun is going conjunct with Mercury in retrograde. We've talked about this a couple of times, and we'll talk about it when it comes up. But basically, Mercury retrograde does involve a lot of shakeups. I know people who really notice it when Mercury is in retrograde, and Sunday's the day for the Sun to intensify the effect of Mercury retrograde. So if you're going to learn a Mercury retrograde lesson, you're probably going to learn it like sometime Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. Yeah. So be prepared. Expect the best and be prepared. Okay, and then on Tuesday, that's when that waning moon comes down to a half moon. Most people call that a half moon. It's actually the 3rd quarter moon. And it will be in Scorpio. And this will be our invitation to let go of all the attitudes, thoughts, assumptions, and crapola accumulations that we have collected over the past month. Just begin to shed them so that we can make a new plan with a fresh slate. Okay, that is it for the aspects themselves today. I've been thrown a card at the end of each of these, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. While I'm shuffling here, I want to remind you, if you are enjoying the video, if you've made it this far, please give me a thumbs up and think about subscribing or sharing this with somebody that you think it might resonate with. Not everybody resonates with everybody else, so I don't expect it to be everybody's cup of tea, but I know I'm some people's cup of tea. So, the tarot card on the side of the board is the 5 of Swords, and that represents the 10-degree portion of the cycle of the year that we are in, which is the first third of Aquarius. And the 5 of Swords is sort of, that person really seems to have a look of satisfaction, but I think that they just also learned a lesson about winning battles. We're smart people. We can always win battles. We can go pick fights with people online. Heaven knows, occasionally I do. You won't see me on Facebook doing that, but it's nice occasionally to be able to sharpen your wit against other people, but if you go in with the intention of winning every time, you might get to a point where you can win every time, but winning every time doesn't necessarily make a lot of friends. So, uh, keep that in mind while we are in this first 10-day period of Aquarius Sun. And the Mercury is in retrograde in Aquarius. Eventually Mercury is going to back its butt up into Capricorn. It's so retrograde. So that'll be interesting as well. The moon is in Virgo. We have these positive trine moon aspects this morning that, call for some introspection, but ideal time to do it. Sun conjunct Mercury Sunday, that's the thing I'm really thinking about right now. So, Seven of Pentacles. I love this card. I like the number 7 because it's a combination of 4 and 3, and 3 sort of gives momentum, and 4 gives stability. So it's like I've got momentum and stability. And you see this person is watching their garden grow, and there may even be a hint of dissatisfaction, or what am I trying to say? Impatience on this person's part. So, you've made some beautiful, you've grown some beautiful physical resources. This represents your health. It represents your home, what you have. It represents your finances. You've grown yourself a nice little something, but it's not quite there yet. And there's satisfaction having gotten to where you are, but you're impatient to get to the next level. And that, to me, is very appropriate for Sun in Aquarius because, Sun in Aquarius seeks to be the rising tide, like I said, that lifts all boats. They want improvement for everybody. They often are very smart and intellectual people, and they think they know, okay? They think they know how best to improve, and they think that they could even maybe speed up the process. So they might be somewhat impatient, and we might feel somewhat impatient under this influence, especially, we've got this sort of double influence saying, come on, we just want to help, we just want to improve this, we just want to make it better, it's time to start getting better. Guys, it's time to start getting better, right? And this is the moment before we really get that push forward to do it. But we've got to set our eyes on those bigger goals. And that's, this person has bigger goals than this. They're just impatient to get there, and they know what they're doing. All right, and with that, I will leave you today. Thanks again for joining me. This is your old girl, Melanie Rose, and I'll see you all back here tomorrow for more daily aspects.